Okay, hi everybody. Thanks for joining us tonight. We're going to get things going here. And as a matter of introduction, I'm going to hand it off to Kristen Wilfang of Whatcom County, who's going to kind of walk us through everybody. For those of you who don't know me, I'm John Hensler. I'm the trail manager for the Michigan Airline Trail. And we are going to talk about some exciting developments for phase 2. So Kristen, why don't you go ahead? I'm going to leave my screen on the presentation. So,
good evening, everyone. Thanks for joining us. We're very excited to tell you about phase 2 of the Michigan Airline Trail. And the folks that are here with me in the room, I just want to introduce our project team. So we have folks from HRC, they're our design engineers, and I'll let them introduce themselves. And we also have John Hensler here. He mentioned himself as well. But you'll see other project partners. We have the Community Foundation for Greater Rochester. They're serving as the fiduciary for the project. We also have the CW2 Trailway Management Council, Michigan DNR, and Michigan Department of Transportation are partners in this project as well. Michigan Trails and Greenways Alliance, and then Milford Township and the City of Wixom. I forgot to introduce myself. I'm a principal planner. My name is Kristen Wilfang with Oakland County Economic Development. So I'll turn it over to Andy Milcheski, and he can introduce himself.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Andy Milcheski. I work with Hubble Roth and Clark. We are the consulting engineers for City of Wixom, and I am the project manager for this airline trail project.
Excellent. And then Mike, if you want to introduce yourself.
Sure. I'm Mike Dargo with HRC, also working with Andy on the design of this project.
Excellent. So we just want to go over some of the details of the project for you and explain a little bit about phase 1 and phase 2. So John will talk about phase 1 in a little bit, but that's the section that's been completed. It's from Wixom Road all the way to Haggerty. So we're very excited to have that new trail in place. Phase 2 will actually pick up from Wixom Road and head to the west through the downtown Wixom area, and then pick up the former Grand Trunk Railroad and go all the way over to Old Plank and connect in with the Huron Valley Trail. And we've got some great connections too with the M5 Metro Trail that goes all the way to the south. It picks up with the I-275 Metro Trail as well. And then West Bloomfield Trail to the east, and then on to the Clinton River Trail over to Macomb County. So just some great linkages there.
sorry.
Yep, so this is just a little bit more detail on phase 1 and phase 2. We've established a few trailheads for parking areas. We've got downtown Walled Lake, we've got On the Dunes, and we have downtown Wixom that are great for our local residents or to visit, for businesses. There's great restaurants, so make sure you stop in and check out our trail towns as well. So we wanted to give just a little bit of history about this next phase, phase 2 of the airline trail. And we dug up some old master plans from about 1990 for the original Lakelands Trail. And so if folks are familiar with that, that's the one that is just west of here, and it goes through Hamburg Township all the way to Stockbridge and then further to the west as well. But part of that original purchase in 1989 roughly was the East Unit. That's what they referred to it as. So if folks are familiar with the Huron Valley Trail that goes from South Lyon all the way up to Old Plank Road, this section of railroad was actually purchased at that time. Right there. And then looking at the Huron Valley Trail Master Plan, the Southwest Oakland County Trailway Management Council actually manages the property for the Department of Natural Resources. And so the DNR actually owns the property in Lyon Township and Milford Township, and the 3 communities of South Lyon, Lyon Township, and Milford Township actually maintain the trail. The portion that's in the city of Wixom was actually purchased last year from the Department of Natural Resources. And they will own and operate and maintain that section of trail as well for the city. And so phase 2 is right there. And so we will actually link up a small portion in the city of Wixom and also in Milford Township. And then taking a look at the regional scale for regional trails, we've got a great cross-county connection that uses the Huron Valley, the Airline, the West Bloomfield Trail, and then the Clinton River Trail that goes from east to west. And what some folks don't know is we actually have 2 cross-state trails that cross in the city of Rochester. And so the portion of the Iron Bell biking route actually comes up out of Belle Isle in Detroit, comes up through Macomb County, and then takes a portion of the Paint Creek and the Pollyant Trail on up to the Upper Peninsula. And so that's a great north-south connection. Then we've got the Great Lake to Lake Trail that goes east-west. So if you want to go ahead one more slide. Wixom's right there. But the Great Lake to Lake Trail, so this is one of our latest destination trails that actually starts at South Haven and goes all the way across the state to Port Huron and connects many of our downtowns along the way. And so the Airline Trail, phase 1 and phase 2 are both part of this cross-state trail. And we actually had our first ride last September, and participants rode all the way across the state and used the trail. So it was a very good ride to have come through our area. So I'll turn it over to John now to talk a little bit about phase 1 and phase 2, but we'll show you a quick video.
Okay, so you can see there that that's a little overview of the trail there, and it's important to remember that it's not just phase 2 of the Airline Trail. It's also let me get the video going there. It's a continuation of both the Airline Trail and the Huron Valley Trail. When basically once you cross over from Wixom going west into Milford Charter Township, then it's actually that 1 mile that goes over to Old Plank Road is going to be the continuation of the Huron Valley Trail. So it's kind of you're getting 2 trails for 1 here. So, but going back to the Airline, just a few little rundown of what we've done so far. We acquired the trail in February 2017. We've been spending, maybe starting in 2000, we started, or 2010, we started actually with the Trail Council, but it took a long time to get the trail, to buy the trail property, and we bought it. And it was officially, we were the owners in February of 2017. We had a ribbon cutting that May to celebrate that. Completed phase 1 last summer, this summer, and we're doing things like, mowing and invasive woody debris maintenance and things like that. We've had some trail ordinances, and we started our Friends Group. And the Friends Group has been active in doing some trail cleanups and trail evangelizing as we raised money for things like mile markers. And they've been a very effective and a great group to have advocating for the trail. We also, even though it wasn't technically part of the trail project, the M5 pedestrian bridge is a key part of the trail. So you can see here, there are a few stills from some of the videos that we shot as we built the bridge. And if you do a little looking around on YouTube and on our site, you can see some of these videos if you want to see them in greater detail about the work that we did on the bridge. We also installed some road crossings, and one of the key things about our trail is that we were able to get the funding to put in road crossing signals at just about every road crossing along the trail where there's a substantial amount of traffic. So our biggest challenge has been we've had a lot of people using the trail, and not everybody has been using the road crossing signals. So again, we put the stop, press, and wave signage there at each crossing, and we would like to emphasize that we want you guys to use that crossing technology as much as you can to alert motorists that you are crossing the trail, and just don't even if you don't see a vehicle there, get in the habit of pushing the signal to activate those signals. So. And for this, that's it for a little where we are on phase one. Now I'll hand it off to Andy, who's going to talk about phase two.
Okay, so what I'd like to do is just kind of dive into each of these, citing and some challenges that we're going to encounter with this proposed project. Go through some of these slides. So what you see here is an overall picture aerial of the entire route. The route is about 2.4 miles, as some of the previous slides had shown. Starting from the west, Old Plank Road, picking up for the Huron Valley Trail, going east through the CSX rail right-of-way, the old CSX rail right-of-way, staying in that trail until we get to, it's hard to show, but the Corex property there, which is the piece that runs north-south, and then comes into the Pontiac Trail road right-of-way. At that point, you will be heading east to Wixom Road, and then going north and picking up. The exact route along Wixom Road is still in the design phase. We're not exactly sure where that's going to go, but we will be going north on Wixom Road and ending at phase one of the airline trail, or the airline trail. So that slide just kind of shows you an overview, and then the next few slides I'll kind of get into some of the talking points of the project itself. So with this project, there are going to be some design challenges, as with all projects. Some of the ones that we want to talk about or show some pictures of today are just the high traffic volumes that we're going to encounter along Pontiac Trail, Wixom Road. It's a pretty busy area. Pontiac Trail does have a 50-mile-an-hour design speed, so we will be doing what we can to protect the pedestrians from the traffic along Pontiac Trail. We will be crossing several driveways. The trail will be also crossing Norton Creek, adjacent to Norton Creek, crossing the creek. We have a railroad crossing, and then we're going to be going through downtown Wixom, which has its own design challenges itself. So with some of these slides here, we'll start on the east end and kind of work our way to the west. So this here is a slide by Wixom Elementary. The bottom arrow that you see is where we would pick up from phase one and potentially cross to the west side of Wixom Road and head south. The crossing that you see to the north there is the existing crossing for Wixom Elementary, and we're in discussions with Wixom Elementary, with the Road Commission for Oakland County about possibly relocating one of those, but there are some challenges that go with that as well. But that is the hope of the project at this point, would be to establish a new crossing at the end of phase one. As we continue south down Wixom Road, this is the railroad crossing. This will be upgraded to ensure safety with gates. We would have to go through CSX, through the railroad and authority, to make sure we are in compliance with everything that they need there. But we will be crossing the railroad at Pontiac Trail and Wixom Road. So that's a picture of that there. Here's where we are. This is a picture looking west. Once you cross the railroad and get through the downtown, that that's portioned along Pontiac Trail before you head north at the Corex property. So that's just a picture of the right-of-way that we'll be going. And then this is as we get into the abandoned railroad trail. There's different, we will have some clearing to do, but we are going to try to minimize that as much as possible to keep the nature as part of the trail as well, scenic route as well. So that's a picture of just some of the different areas that this project is going to be going through for that 2.5 miles. So going back down into the downtown area, this is what you see here. It's an aerial view. To the right is Wixom Road. You're looking at Pontiac Trail right in downtown. So what we will be doing is taking the path in front of the downtown businesses that you see there. If we could zoom in, or the next slide, John, kind of shows the concept of what we have. So bouncing back and forth, if you could, I'm sorry, John, if you could go back right there in front of those buildings, there is currently on-street parking. You can see the path going through the vehicles that are parked there now. This project would propose to eliminate the on-street parking in front of those buildings. And then the next slide would be a rendering of a concept that we have for that area. So we would continue 1 lane west along Pontiac Trail, eliminate the on-street parking, and bring in some vegetation. The lights would be moved into a landscape row there. And then if you look to the left of the trees and lights, you see a bike path and a pedestrian path. So with the heavily congested area in front down there, we are proposing we're in the concept stage, but what we are proposing is to separate those two paths, create a 10-foot path for bikes, and then a 5-foot path for the pedestrians. What you see on these next couple slides are some examples. It's important to note for these slides, just keep in mind this would only be in front of those businesses. This is not what we would be proposing for the entire path. The path, aside from this downtown area, would be a 10-foot wide path that would be shared by both bikes and pedestrians. So, but in the downtown area there, we're looking to separate that to avoid, the congestion of the downtown, allow businesses or allow access to the businesses. So those are just a couple pictures of the downtown area and the renderings that we have for that area. This slide here is along Wixom Road, just north of Pontiac Trail. One of the exciting things that we're proposing here would be a proposed trailhead. And what a trailhead is an area for, we would have a parking lot, a parking area for bikes, walkers to park, and then anyone along the trail would be able to stop and take a break, get a drink, do whatever you need, to do along the trail. Some of the potential amenities that we have talked about would be the parking area, shade shelter, bike racks, bike repair station, benches, drinking fountains are some of the amenities that have been suggested. One of the things that we would like to do with this meeting is to get feedback from all of you guys. If you have any suggestions, we are taking it in the chat, or what we can do is send an email. John, is that would we? Send an email to the manager. Okay, so somewhere I don't know exactly where John's information would be, but if you have any suggestions, or after this meeting something comes to mind, we can get that information, John's email address, and you can certainly send that in to him as any questions or suggestions for amenities at the proposed trailhead.
So far, we do not have any questions in the chat, but I think I can also unmute people if they can raise their hand.
Okay. Yeah, we can certainly do that too.
And it looks like I do have one hand raised, so I'm going to allow Tom Resnick to talk. Okay, Tom, you should be unmuted.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much. Andy, thanks for the overview. One of the things I noticed on the a shade shelter, picnic tables, bike repair, and water station. What about porta potties at the proposed trailhead? Oh, hello?
Yes, we hear you. That is something that we can certainly take that down as a suggestion. Bring it up and see. Bring it up with the city to see if that would be an amenity that could be a possibility for sure. I think that's a great idea.
And I think the water is essential. That's great.
Oh, am I unmuted? No, I am. Okay. Yeah.
I am getting some questions on the chat. Do you guys want me to take them one at a time? Hang on. So
Sure.
yes, someone says restrooms and water would be good to add. Another question is, was looping around behind the drafting table considered, picking up the old grade there?
Yep, and I can chime in. We actually looked at several options for crossing the railroad tracks, and the preferred route from the railroad is down at the intersection for safety purposes. We will need to follow up with them to see all of the different safety features that will have to be added to that crossing. But yes, we looked at where the original Grand Trunk Railroad came through, east-west, to use the old rail grade. There's just a lot of challenges through that area. And then we also looked taking it north along Maple Road, but the number of driveways is very significant up along Maple Road as well. So at this point, the crossing will be down to the south at the intersection. But yes, we considered many alternatives as well.
I do have somebody else who would like to speak. I'm going to allow Jerry to speak. Go ahead, Jerry.
The question I had, I've been riding the path pretty regularly already. And I noticed, my question is how are we going to keep the farmers from going across the trail? Because it seems like it's a high tractor area for the horse farms and all the things like that. And I guess my concern is I see that quite frequently using that area, and they've been brought into the plan.
Yes, so we are reaching out. We're in the process of reaching out to all the surrounding property owners. And I'm guessing that you're speaking of some of the properties further on the west end out by Old Plank Road. So we will be
in the Milford zone.
Yep. So we will be touching base with those property owners out there and just having conversations with them and how they use the pathway right now, and just kind of raise their awareness that motorized vehicles are not allowed on the pathway itself. So yes, we will be addressing those concerns. Okay, well, I think we have a couple more slides. So if we don't have any other questions.
It looks like, I think Tom has another question. Hang on one second.
Oh, thank you, Cheryl. Kristen, one other just a comment is that the crossing at the very north end of this picture, people will use that. So we really need to consider making that the safe crossing area, not the one over by the school, because, and Jerry could probably attest to this as well, is people cross there today, and dozens of people cross every day, even though the signage, the temporary signage says to go further south to the Wixom Road safe crossing. So just a comment I wanted to add.
Yes, and as Andy mentioned, we are working with the Road Commission for Oakland County on that. So we do hope that can be our permanent crossing location, and eliminate the one to the north right there by the elementary school, and just consolidate those two into one. But yep, we'll make note of that. So thank you.
And it looks like Jerry has another question.
Just a quick question in that, is there going to be a hawk signal, I'm assuming, correct? going across
So-
Wixom?
Yeah,
Yep.
I can. If you just hold on to that spot there, I do have a couple slides with the type of crossing, or maybe if we could, maybe that's a great segue to get to those.
Mhm.
Here you go. So we do have at this point a couple of options for that, for excuse me, for that crossing there just south of Wixom Elementary. The first would be what is called a rectangular rapid flashing beacon, RRFB. There's two different types of those, and that's what you see in those pictures. The top one is one where you come up to the road, push the button, and at that point the lights start to flash. There's a little description there on the left of the picture, but basically there are solar powered. Yes. Yep. The second option is the mast arm that comes over with an illuminated crossing and the pedestrian crossing signs on either side. So the top one, you get the flashing beacons. The bottom one is just an illuminated sign. And then the third option, John, is called HAWK signal. There's an acronym, high intensity activated crosswalk beacon. This is one that's located at a couple different locations along the trail. Currently, that you see one there in the lower left, but basically this one is the same thing, push button activated. Once the push button is depressed, the lights come on, they flash, they go to a red, allows the pedestrians to cross, and they begin to flash again. And this one actually stops the traffic. So there are a couple options that we are looking into. It is the preferred option to have the HAWK signal. Again, this is going to take coordination with all of the entities that are involved, the school, the road commission. We need to get buy-in from all of the participants in the project and property owners. But there is plan to have pedestrian signals at that crossing on Wixom Road.
Panelists, we do have a comment from Mark. He says, I would rather not lose any on-street parking. I'm not connected to any of those stores, but I hate having to look for a parking spot. John, maybe, or don't know who wants to answer that one.
I'll take that one. We're kind of limited with our options that we have since we have to go down to the intersection and cross. The national guidelines require us to have a 10-foot minimum pathway with 2-foot shoulders. And the existing profile that's out there right now just can't accommodate that. So really our only option is to eliminate the parking on street, unfortunately. But I do understand your concern. It's difficult in the downtown to lose any on-street parking. So we'll certainly make note of that. And if there's any opportunity to save it, we will take note of that. Yep.
And then we have a comment, and I don't know if you guys can see all these, but would it be possible? Actually, so Carol says there's a lot of parking spaces in the lot behind the building. And then Peter is asking, would it be possible for the crossing to be timed with the traffic light at Pontiac Trail?
I can answer that. So would it be the HAWK signal itself is only active, is only functioning when the button is pushed. So if I'm understanding your question correctly, would it be, I guess I'm not I'm not understanding the question. Would it be?
What, Peter, do you mind if I'll unmute you?
Yeah,
and,
go ahead.
hang on, just.
And I
Peter,
get the comment.
Peter, you should be unmuted.
I understand that, and that's one of the concerns from the road commission is.
Can you hear me?
The
Yes.
viewing of the traffic on Wixom Road.
See, I guess my thought process would be how bad Wixom is backed up all the time now, would be that there'd be a red light on the trail basically, and the trail traffic would have to stop and wait for their light to turn green, and their light would turn green when there's a red light on Pontiac Trail for Wixom Road.
Right.
So when the traffic's already stopped there, would that be a perfect time for the trail traffic to cross? and you wouldn't be creating more of a traffic jam on Wixom Road. So it would just be literally, you'd put a sign on the trail that there is a stoplight ahead. Please obey, you know, the stoplight ahead. The trail traffic would stop until the light turns green, and that would happen every cycle, just like it happens at Pontiac Trail on Wixom Road.
It's a fair question. It's a fair point, and it's certainly one that we're going to have to get into discussion with the road commission. Your concerns are shared by the road commission. In the very brief meeting that we have had with them, that is one of their concerns, is what is it going to do to the traffic on Wixom Road if we stop them, if we stop the traffic with the hawk signal, and what will that do to the, you know, to the traffic as far as backing it up, queuing it up. And so you raise a very valid point, and it's something that we'll get into and work out with the road commission.
Thank you very much.
Yep, if I can just chime in too, there are certain conditions that have to be met in order to have a traditional traffic signal there. And those warrants, with it being so close to the intersection too, I'm not sure that we would meet all of those conditions to have a full traffic signal, but we'll certainly take those comments down and raise those questions with the road commission.
Yeah, part of the concern here, and this is John jumping back in, is that when we use federal funds and state funds to build a trail, we have to follow their certain guidelines. So that's why we have to follow certain safety guidelines. We have to follow certain width of the trail guidelines and things like that, and including a 10-foot wide path, you've got to have 2 feet of clearance on either side of that, in addition to the 10 feet of path. So that's, you know, I'm just kind of reiterating that that's why we have some limitations on what we can do in terms of getting the trail through downtown where we want it to be.
Yeah, so I guess just getting back into some of the slides, I know some folks had questions on the proposed timeline, so I can give you a little bit more detail on that. Back in June and July, we actually had a request for proposals for the design engineering services, and Hubble, Roth & Clark was the selected design engineer, so we're happy to have them on board. We also did an online public survey. We had about 220 responses for the initial survey. So thank you for those that participated in that. Right now, we're still in our very preliminary design phase. So that's why we wanted to reach out to the stakeholders tonight and just get your feedback on the route, any concerns that you may have, and any suggestions on how to improve this particular project. So as Andy mentioned earlier, at the end of the slideshow, we'll have all of our contact information. So if you do think of something after tonight, you can certainly feel free to contact us and send us a quick email. But really, we hope to take this information after we get it back tonight, continue on with the design, apply for some permits, and see what all of our utilities are going to require for the project. And then we'll take that information to the Milford Township Board and the Wixom City Council. And then we'll also see if there's support for the grant itself. But right now we're looking to apply for Transportation Alternatives Program funding. That funding comes from the Federal Transportation Bill. And the deadline for that is on February 24th in 2021. So we have a little bit of time to complete that application. And then if that's successful, we can continue on with the process. And we hope that construction can begin in early 2022. And it'll probably be, I'm guessing, anywhere between a 4 to 6 month project, just based on phase 1. So if you want to advance to the next slide, we do have some funding in place. And we're also looking at the Recreational Trails Program grant through the Department of Natural Resources. So there's another matching funds that we can also use for the project. But until we get the design a little bit further along, we won't know how much the matching funds are for each of the local communities. And then we'll also need a maintenance commitment to make sure that we can keep the trail looking nice and have the surface being in good condition going forward. But we do currently have about $900,000. 300 of that is for the design engineering services, and then another 600,000 for matching funds from a very generous grant from the Ralph C. Wilson Jr. Foundation. So we're very happy to partner with them on this phase of the project too. So I think that's all we had. Does anyone else have any questions or comments?
Kristen, we do have another question from Jerry. Is his hand raised?
Yeah. Am I on mute or?
We can hear you.
Okay. Okay. So the deal is I ride through that intersection all the time, getting back to the Hawk Light.
Okay.
So the deal is if you time that Hawk Light to the left turn, so as you're turning, you're heading east on Pontiac Trail, heading north, going north onto Wixom. If you time that light to be just after the conclusion of that left turn light, you're not going to jam up traffic. I've ridden this so many times to where if you can time those Hawk lights to the left turn north arrow, as you want to turn left onto Wixom Road and heading north, it's not going to cause a backup problem.
Perfect. Yeah, good to know. Yeah, I'm sure we'll
I
probably
ride
have to
it
do
so
some
much.
type of traffic study.
This I
So
know.
yeah, that's
I'm 100% sure.
Yep. I
We
know
have
you're out
another-
there quite a bit.
We have another question or comment from Tom.
Hello, thank you again. Yeah, I agree with Jerry wholeheartedly that timing would work perfectly and not hold up traffic. Another comment on the parking. There's 10 parallel parking spaces in front of Country Corners Plaza right now. And in 2019, the city found the funding to pave the municipal lot behind Auto Glass One, which is directly across from Country Plaza. And there's, Tim Sikma could probably correct me, but I'm thinking maybe 40 spaces available there as well. So the 10 will definitely, there'll be plenty of parking there along with proposed trailhead as well. One other comment, and I know John, I've said this many times, but when we do install the bollards on phase 2, we need to make sure that the locks and the hinges are in line with the trail, not perpendicular to the trail. We're worried about some of the potential hazards with catching a foot if you're in the down pedal position. And I, like Jerry, I ride the trail every day, so it's I haven't done it yet, but I see it as a hazard. And if you go to the West Bloomfield section, you'll notice that they run in line with the trail, not perpendicular to the trail. But otherwise, thank you very much for this very informational session.
Thanks for joining us tonight. Yep, we'll certainly make note of those suggestions as well. Yep, so I realized we didn't have the email addresses on there now, but if you go to the miairlinetrail.com, you'll see the contact page and John's email address. It's manager@mitrail.
Well, you know what I'll do is we're going to post this. We're going to post the PowerPoint, make it available so you can download it. And what we'll do is I will take this last slide and I'll add Kristen, mine, and Andy's email addresses so that you guys, if you have any other questions or additions or whatever, please feel free to email us and we'll include your feedback as we move forward with designing.
We do have one more question or comment from Dave D. Dave, you should be able to speak now. Try it again. Hang on. Dave, you should be able to unmute yourself.
There you
Go ahead.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. I was just wondering if the presentation is going to be available. And I think John just answered that.
Yep.
Thanks.
Just to confirm, member Resnick's parking comment. We do have parking available on both sides of Pontiac Trail at the corner there behind the auto parts and the Kleba building, as well as behind Country Corners. So there is plenty of downtown parking available for us there.
We have another question from Cheryl. Cheryl, you should be able to unmute yourself and go ahead.
Well, I'm going to kick myself if I don't ask this question as long as we're talking about the crossing lights and so forth. I know this is a little ways west of where we're talking about, but you guys might be able to point me toward the appropriate people to ask the question, how do we get crossing lights at Pontiac Trail where the trail crosses Pontiac Trail just before Milford Road?
Yeah, so Supervisor Don Green is probably the best person to contact if it's on that portion of the Huron Valley Trail. I believe that section is in Milford Township. It might actually be right on the border of Lyon and Milford. I'd have to take a look, but it's typically the community that it falls within. So try Mr. Green. Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Excellent. Well, I think that's everything that we had on our end. So if there aren't any other questions, we thank you for joining us tonight. Please be safe out on the trails and observe your social distancing. Be well and take care.
Thanks, everybody. Really appreciate you tuning in tonight.
And we're getting lots of thank yous from everybody.